Here we are. Welcome to another edition of Boxing for Real. Things are going great. We've gotten some great responses so far. A few. Anyhow, here we go. Let's get the show on. I'm your host, Don Omega. This is my co-host, Iron Truth. Now, let's get started. For this week, let's take a look at what happened last week. We had Joel Julio go up against Carlos Quintana. And this guy said he was going to knock him out in one round. Didn't happen. He did knock him down in the first round, and it looked like he was going to get him out of there early. But Quintana changed his game plan, and he had the better game plan. It looked like Julio wasn't throwing those combinations quite like he had in previous fights, and it looked like he just was trying for the one-punch knockout the whole night, and Quintana just outboxed him pretty easily, actually.
Definitely. Can't really say more than that. He just outboxed him. Julio, I think he started believing his hype of just knocking people out over and over, and Quintana came in, used his skills, footwork, and all the tools, and he just outboxed him over 12 rounds. So a minor upset, but I don't guess you could call it a major upset because Quintana was undefeated as well. So.
Yeah, I think Julio will learn from this experience. It's nothing crushing to him, I don't believe. It was another undefeated guy.
Yeah.
Who knows who could win? I mean, they both had really fought no competition. Really, Quintana, after looking at his record, he had fought slightly better competition, mainly just guys with more winning records. Although they were still nobodies, they were still winning records.
In the main event, Calvin Brock took on Timor Ibragimov, and Brock had him hurt a few times, but never could quite follow up with the knockout. Brock dominated the fight. Timor showed that he was a joke, like most Russian fighters are. So
actually, he was from Uzbekistan, just to keep things accurate.
Something.
But anyhow, like you said, Ibragimov didn't really show much, and his corner was pretty hilarious. I thought during some points in the fight, his corner was like
saying they wouldn't be there if he didn't do anything in the 11th round. They wouldn't be there when he came back. So
and asked him, "Do you want us to stop the fight?" Because he wasn't doing anything. And Ibragimov, it just wasn't his night. I don't think it's going to be his night
ever.
Anytime when he steps up. I wasn't impressed with the hype of these Ibragimov cousins or something, whatever they're trying to pretend they are. Who cares?
They're the next Klitschko's.
Exactly. And we hope to get Sultan out of there soon, too.
He will be. As soon as he steps up, he'll be out.
Calvin Brock, I had him winning pretty much every round of the fight. There might have been one you could kind of give Ibragimov, but it was so close, who cares?
Yeah, just dominated him. So Calvin Brock is a top 10 heavyweight, definitely. I don't know if he could beat people. I don't think he could beat people like Rahman or James Toney. But as far as Layman Brewster and the other 3 champions besides Hasim Rahman, I think he could beat all of those guys probably.
And I'd like his chances against Peter, although Peter hits hard, and if he got hit by him, I'm wondering how well he'd really deal with that power. I don't think anyone can handle that power greatly from Samuel Peter if they get hit.
Besides maybe James Toney. That's about it in the heavyweight division.
And I just don't see, I don't know, I could see that fight going either way. I think that's kind of a pick and fight. It depends on if Brock
could
stands
outbox
in there
him
with him, or
if Brock chooses to stay on the outside, he should win a pretty comfortable decision, as he's by far the superior fighter, skill-wise, to Peter.
Now, if Peter would lose some weight, he could really be a force to reckon with within the heavyweight division. He lost to Vladimir Klitschko, but the only reason he did is because he lacks movement.
Skill. He lacks the speed to cut off the ring. Klitschko held him every 5 seconds, doing a very well impression of John Ruiz. And still, Klitschko did get the win, I guess, but only by about 1 point because he was knocked down 3 times from Peter, and Peter wasn't even landing that flush on his...
Peter landed like 3-4 punches the entire
Yeah.
fight, it looked like,
Yeah.
by my count. And
every time he hit him, he knocked him down.
Pretty
so
much.
There you go.
And people want to say, I've seen critics say, like, well, 1 or 2 times he hit him in the back of the head. Well, that's Klitschko's fault for turning his back to him.
And he was running away from him. So.
If you turn your back to your opponent, that's not the opponent's fault at that point. That's your fault.
Ref says protect yourself at all times. So
And
there's that.
so let's move on to other fights from this past week. We had Pascal, the Canadian. I had never seen him before. I had heard about him, heard he was good. I was like, Canadian fighter, good. I'm not buying it. But I have to say I was impressed with his performance. He was a slick fighter. He has a style I kind of prefer. And I was impressed with him. I'd like to see him step it up in the future. He's no need to step it up now.
He's only, 12-0, 13-0 now.
Yeah,
So.
he's stepped up against Darnell Boone. Not a great fighter, but a good journeyman fighter.
Journeyman, a tough guy. Doesn't usually get knocked out a lot, I don't think. But Pascal put on a good performance. They'll probably move him along pretty slowly. Probably around his 20th fight, he might step up, maybe to somebody in the top 10 or so. Although he's at super middleweight, so that division's not stacked or anything with great talent there. So
Yeah, we'll see what happens with him. I think in a few years the super middleweight division will really be something, though.
Oh yeah, in a few years for sure. You've got Andre Ward, who's at middleweight, who could easily go up to super middleweight. You got Andre Dirrell, Anthony Dirrell. You've got Curtis Stevens, Jadon Codrington, Alan Green, who knocked out Codrington. Definitely some young talent coming up, and some of the guys that are there now, like Jeff Lacey, Joe Calzaghe.
And there's always the possibility of someone like Edison Miranda.
Yeah, definitely moving
Taylor,
up
Wright.
in weight. Yeah,
Wright is mentioned
that he wants to fight Calzaghe, so he could move up, and I mean he could control that division as far as I'm concerned.
And there's another guy, Lucian Butte. From the highlights I've seen of him, I have to admit, even though he has a hilarious name that I just laugh at almost every time I hear it, Lucian Butte.
Yeah.
The highlights I've seen, he has been impressive. Has a lot of good power, but we'll see what happens when he steps up too.
Yeah.
Anyhow, let's move on. With also the Dirrell Brothers, as mentioned, as part of the super middleweights. They were on a showbox card that they looked both very impressive in.
Very impressive.
Anthony just
dominated.
basic
Nothing
style.
more
Not a lot to see in that fight. It was a 1-round knockout, but I mean,
which was what he wanted, which was perfect for him. Got him a good first round knockout on
still
national
all
TV.
knockouts.
Yep, all knockouts, 9-0, 9 knockouts. That guy looked like he could take a pretty good punch, somewhat, I guess, but not with Anthony. And Anthony just broke him down quickly and got him out of there. So.
Then Andre Dirrell went on 3 rounds with his opponent, which was a little surprising looking at his opponent. He looked like a punch would put him down.
But Andre Dirrell just used his skills and speed. He has a very unorthodox style. He reminds me a lot of Roy Jones in his unorthodox style of fighting. He doesn't have any typical movements. He leaps in and out with his punches, and he's definitely somebody to keep your eyes on.
And he knocked his opponent out in the 3rd round, in case you missed that. It was a good fight. They'll probably be re-showing it on Showbox from time to time, and you can check out your on-demand if you have that as an option. So check that out if you can. Then in the main event, Robert the Ghost Guerrero looked to haunt his opponent for that one loss he had to Diaz.
Yeah, good. Gamaliel Diaz, I believe his name was, and I thought Guerrero beat him clearly the first time. It was a close fight. I had Guerrero winning by decision. Guerrero came back. He hurt him in the 1st round. I thought he was going to knock him out then. He controlled the whole fight and then put him out with a great left hook to the body, left uppercut to the body in the 6th round, and Diaz stayed down for the count. And Guerrero can now move on with his career, and it looks like he has some potential.
Yeah, Guerrero came out right away. You could tell he was ready for revenge. It was the best performance I've seen of Guerrero. He was explosive, and he came out to get revenge, and he did just that. It took him 6 rounds. Way to go.
Yeah. All right. So
And he's in the featherweight division currently, I believe.
not a great division for a young
There's-
up-and-coming fighter to be in, but,
Well,
you know.
I don't know. There's also Guzman in there. They could maybe fight in the near future. They're both right about at that.
Well, I think right now Guzman embarrasses Guerrero at this point, but
I'd have to agree he'd beat Guerrero, but it'd be a good fight in another year or so.
In a year or so, that'd be when that should happen. But nothing before then for Guerrero.
And maybe one of them could fight Chris John or Marquez, I guess.
Either one.
Whatever.
I would pick either one of them to beat John or Marquez. They're both overrated.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
you know.
And let's move on to
Mesi.
what's coming up.
Joe Mesi.
Oh yeah, before we move on, Joe Mesi.
Yeah. Had a horrible performance. Yeah, he won every round, I guess, but got hit. Looked very slow, which he was never that fast. But just, I mean, no timing on his punches, just very off in his second fight since he's came back after the brain bleeding over 2 years ago. But just a very sluggish night for Joe Mesi.
I was worried in the beginning. I was wondering, is this bomb going to beat Joe Mesi? Not that Joe Mesi, I mean, he's a Buffalo guy.
Fighter.
That's where most of his fights had happened before he couldn't fight there anymore.
Well,
But he knocked out some decent guys. He did, like, I picked Dirrell Williamson to embarrass him. He
Absolutely.
knocked Williamson out in one round.
And
Now he looks like shit. He looks like crap. He looks like he didn't train for this fight at all.
Yeah, looks very out of shape. Supposedly he wasn't even supposed to be training for the time that his license was revoked. Who knows if he followed that or not.
Apparently he didn't train the way it looks. Because, I mean, I would have expected if he trained he would have been in better shape than he was, even after all this time off.
Yeah, he's not a guy that's going to be looking in great shape every time just because I don't think he has that kind of body muscle or whatever you would call that.
His next fight was supposed to be in July. It's been pushed back
to August, sometime in August. Said it's going to be out of the country, so.
Yeah, he still hasn't tried to get his license back here. I hope they do grant it to him. If he's a fighter, if he wants to fight, let him fight.
Yeah, absolutely. They have no right as long as he can pass the test, that's the rules. If you can pass the physical exams, then you're able to fight. As long as he can do that, I see no problem in letting him fight. They can't just go changing the rules to fit certain fighters, just like Evander Holyfield. If he can pass the exams, then they have no right to keep him from fighting.
And let me say it right here, I'm not a Joe Mesi fan. I don't care that much for him. But I do want him to be allowed to continue to fight even though I don't like him.
No, absolutely. He deserves to fight, and there's a lot of people I would like to beat him, of course. So.
Now moving on to the stuff coming up for this week. Let's see, we have Dominic Gwynn getting back in there, trying to rebuild his career.
Gwynn had a decent performance against Audley Harrison in his last fight. That's the best performance he's put on in years, since the Barrett loss, of course, in early 2004. Let his hands go more than he has in the past, but should beat this guy coming up, Tony Thompson. Then we'll see what happens. Don't really know what to expect anymore from Gwynn.
Yeah, Gwynn, I think he'll win. I think he'll put on it might be a workmanlike performance. That's kind of what I'm expecting, but who knows, maybe the good Gwynn will show up and do something.
Hopefully. He was very highly thought of right after the Michael Grant knockout back in 2003, and then he just fell off after the Barrett fight, so don't know.
Yes, it's almost like he caught the curse of Michael Grant or something.
Yeah. And
which he didn't have Teddy Atlas as his trainer, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyhow, let's move along to the fights of the weekend. We have all the prospects, all the sons of fighters coming up, as you've probably been seeing advertisements for. Who is on that card? Let's run down the list.
Well, we have Chaz Witherspoon, a heavyweight.
He's the son of Tim Witherspoon.
I believe he's actually the nephew of Tim Witherspoon.
Okay, that's right.
But this guy, I've only seen him once. They've only shown him one time. Saw him on Ballroom Boxing back in 2005. He threw 97 punches in one round, or 90-something punches, which is amazing for a heavyweight. Definitely of his size, that's good for any fighter, much less a heavyweight. He's got good skills, good speed. Looking forward to seeing him again.
Absolutely. And then there's McGirt Jr.?
James McGirt Jr., son of Buddy McGirt. He is taking on the son of Aaron Pryor, Stephen Pryor. And I don't know why they're matching those two up so early in their careers. One of them's going to get a loss, and it's not going to be good for their career. They should have just put them in separate bouts to profile them better. But I've seen McGirt twice. Very impressive. Never seen Pryor. They've never shown him. So looking forward to seeing him.
Yeah, this wasn't a good move, I don't think, on their part to do that either. I agree. They should have just had them fight other people and give them both a chance to showcase their talents. And
now one of them's gonna,
because that's basically what this card is about. It's about showing these guys.
The new guys.
It's not about showing them losing.
Yeah,
these are setups basically for them to win, tune-ups, and
they're gonna get a fighter. They're gonna give a fighter a loss on this card by that fight, and that won't be good for whoever that turns out to be. I would pick McGirt just because I've seen him, so, you know.
Yeah, there's really no way to pick these too well, but also on the card, Ronald Hearns, been hearing and reading a lot about him.
Good power, seen him, I think, 2 or 3 times. Fights somewhat like his dad, Tommy Hearns, very tall for his weight, and got long arms, long jab. And
we get to see how his chin is.
Yeah,
let's hope he didn't inherit his dad's chin. At least his dad's chin in the past.
Yeah, definitely.
His dad still fights. Thomas Hearns still fights for some unknown reason.
So
he still fights. I don't know why.
Hopefully
it's not for money. They're not paying him a lot of money. But
he wasn't even shown on TV the last time he fought. They showed it on a replay, but that was it. So he's not even being on the networks or anything, so I really don't see the point. So
I guess just trying to hold on to that youth for whatever reason.
46.
He's trying to recapture that youth, perhaps.
So
he should do that through his son, though. Let his son be the one to do that. Okay, also Paez Jr. Not a fan of Ray Paez. It'd be terrible to be the son of that guy, I think.
Absolutely. I have not been impressed.
He won't have much of a shadow to step out of, at least, if he does become somebody.
Out of all the guys, out of the one he's related to is the absolute worst fighter of all the other guys. All the other ones were great fighters at one point. Paez I will never consider a great fighter at all. He never beat anyone. He got destroyed every time he fought great competition. De La Hoya knocked him out in 2 rounds, I believe. So Paez was a joke of a fighter.
Which was fitting since his name was the Clown Prince.
There's been rumors that a lot of his fights were fixed when he fought in Mexico over his career. So who knows? I could believe that easily. His son has not impressed me at all. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll just have to see about him. I don't expect too much from him, but whatever. Yeah. If he's anything like his dad, if he lives up to his dad's name, he's not going to be very much. But he might be overrated. Yeah. Pepino Cuevas. Anyhow, let's talk about the other fights overseas. For whatever reason, this is on pay-per-view. It shouldn't be on pay-per-view. It should be HBO Boxing.
That's the problem. HBO chose not to go over to the Philippines like they said they were after the Pacquiao-Morales rematch.
They're scared.
For some dumbass reason.
Heart and soul of boxing? Come on. Yeah, sure.
Who knows?
Well, why are you so scared then?
So that's why it's on pay-per-view. Otherwise, it would not have been. I don't
Send us there. We'd go.
Yeah,
we'd
absolutely.
Go.
But Pacquiao...
We'll record it with our camera.
Yeah. Great footage. Pacquiao should dominate Larios, of course. He's better in every way. Larios has the height advantage on him. don't expect it to do anything. I say Pacquiao breaks him down within about 9 rounds. So
Yeah, I could see 6 to 9 rounds this bout. Pacquiao's going to be in front of his hometown, and that really means a lot to him.
Definitely.
These are poor people. He's going to be out there to just annihilate
Definitely.
Oscar Larios.
Yeah.
I don't see Larios giving him much problems at all.
No, I don't.
And Larios might better hope he doesn't win, because these fans, that
they
live
wouldn't be
and die
good.
for Manny Pacquiao.
They're absolute.
They're actually coming out with a movie about Manny Pacquiao with an actor that's about 5'10" for some reason, but that's another story.
They do love Pacquiao, and
He has an album over there.
Yeah.
I'm wondering. I wouldn't be surprised if he came out to one of his own songs. Probably
will.
Paraseo.
yeah, probably will. He has a huge following, so Pacquiao, I really see no way possible he's gonna allow Larios to beat him on his home turf.
And also on the undercard, hopefully, I believe they're showing it Ray Bautista versus someone.
Somebody. Never seen him. 20-0, 15 knockouts. Anxious to see him. I've never had the chance to see him.
All I've seen are highlights of him. He looked explosive in the highlights I've seen. That's unfortunately all I've had an opportunity to see at this point. He's a little fighter. Flyweight, maybe
okay.
bantamweight.
Yeah.
I think bantamweight actually. Yeah.
So that's a lot of knockouts for somebody at that weight for sure. So probably an explosive fighter. He's from the Philippines, so looking forward to seeing him. Yeah.
There's another fight that's going to be on Wanjun Cam making another title defense. It won't be on TV at all, but I'd still like him to come over here at some point and show what he can do.
I'd
from
just
the
like
fights I've seen of him, he just looks really impressive.
I'd just like them to show him wherever he's going to fight. Could really care less. Obviously, if he fights here, it's more likely to be shown. But just want to see him. They need to start showing these guys that fight in other countries. Don't see the reason why they can't.
Boxing is an international sport. Let's show it all.
Let's show it all, absolutely. Get a boxing channel going. They have a golf channel, a tennis channel.
A home and garden channel?
Yeah.
Who watches that crap? People watch it and then they don't do what they're showing.
They have poker and pool and spelling bees on ESPN, a sports channel. Those are not sports, people.
No.
Don't care if you're offended by that, because
racing isn't a sport.
Absolutely.
But racing is more of a sport than those.
It takes more athleticism than that, but we're athletes apparently. If racing's a sport,
absolutely, we can drive. I can drive.
So we're athletes. But anyway, they need to show all fights, all prospects. You hear a lot of people say, "I don't want to see prospects in fights where they overmatch their opponents." Well, then they're not boxing fans, because
they don't need to watch those fights then.
Yeah, if they have a problem, turn the channel, go do something else.
A lot of people like ourselves, and a lot of you watching this, probably every single one of you actually taking the time to watch this.
Yeah.
We know who we are,
Mm-hmm.
but we all want to see these fights. It needs to happen. Don King has talked about putting a channel together.
Yeah.
Others have wanted channels before. There's enough boxing interest, and what a great thing for the sport of boxing if we can get a channel.
Absolutely.
And only have boxing shows. There's plenty of footage. Look at ESPN Classic. They show fights. They've been doing a good job recently of showing a lot of fights.
Definitely. I've seen some fights that I did not see, of course, back in the late 90s when I wasn't into boxing yet. So they've shown like 2 Corey Spinks fights, I believe. And let's see, they showed some Hasim Rahman fights, James Toney actually. So I've gotten to see a lot of fights, so they've been doing good. But they definitely need to show all these fights all the time. If the Home and Garden Network can have their own station, boxing isn't the most popular thing. I would bet my life that it's more popular than that, actually, though.
Absolutely. So. I can't agree more. And outdoor living,
which is going to be showing boxing July 27th. So
why outdoor? I know there are outdoor fights, but that's not.
It's not really what that's about, but I'll take it because Anthony Thompson is fighting. Been impressed with him. So July 27th, that will be the debut of that show. So
check it out.
Absolutely.
Okay, well that's going to be it for today. Thanks for tuning in yet again. We're trying to get a lot of episodes out right now. Keep watching us. Keep checking out omegafights.com. Keep checking out YouTube and look at all our videos. Okay, and well, that's it. I'm Don Omega. This is Iron Truth. Goodbye. Okay.